First off, I want to say shout out to the Khaliis family community. Thank you all for all your support and everything. Let's continue to keep it going. Just wanted to give you an update. If you haven't seen the post that was created, going forward, starting next week, Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, we will be posting then. The same times though, in regards to the videos, the 2 videos a day, that's not going to change any, but we'll be adding some new features and, better content and things like that as well. But now let's go ahead and jump right into business as usual. So first off, I don't know if I really agree with the one Clippers player that is suggested that needs to be traded on the Clippers. First of all, I think, the Clippers are just a very deep team, and that's a problem all on its own to some people who have watched the Clippers so far, because they're not seeing all the players that they want to see get the minutes that they should be getting. So, I understand that, but at the same time, having all that depth that the Clippers have is a good problem to have, not a bad one. And if it's not a bad problem to have, then I don't understand, why anybody specifically needs to be traded, specifically on the Clippers at this point, almost like dire need. I would say if they choose to trade a player and get something good in return, fine. But I don't know if it's dire need for them to at this point. Now, clutchsports.com, you can check that out. They actually suggested this, or this was a suggestion on there. And the player that they actually mentioned that probably needs to be traded sometime soon, or very quickly, I should say, is Robert Covington. Now, Robert Covington, we all know he's a good defender. He can knock down a 3. I speak highly of the guy. I always have in regards to his gameplay. I always liked his basketball IQ. I always liked the fact that, he just knows how to play basketball, and he plays it at a rate or at a certain way that other role players can't. To me, he's one of those type of valuable role players to me, who can help a team win a championship. Now, Clutch Sports suggests that, Robert Covington is not a good on-ball defender, and they're paying him $10 million, and it's going to waste because he's not really even seeing the floor most of the time. And instead of wasting that money, go ahead and trade him and get rid of that money and, possibly open up another opportunity. Now, me personally, he is getting paid that money, and he doesn't play a ton of minutes, so he doesn't play a ton or enough, I think, because it's just so much depth the Clippers have, on the floor and just on their roster. It's really hard to get everybody in there. Now, I would say the fact that they trade for him and Norman Powell, I would find a way to get him on that floor. And I know Ty Lue has something to do with that, but of course, Ty Lue can't make everybody happy, and it's just the way it's going to go sometime. With having all that depth, that's the problem that the Clippers will face. The adversity of, is everybody going to be all in mentally, and is everybody, on board with the system and how it's going to go? Because everybody's competitive, everybody wants to play, everybody wants to be out there, everybody wants to contribute at a high level, and nobody really wants to sit on the bench. And I understand that, but as I always say, being logical, it's only one basketball, and everybody can't get a piece of the pie. It just doesn't work that way. And in the Clippers situation, it's going to be even harder because they got so much talent in every position. Seem like, it's hard for everybody to get on the floor and get the minutes they will want to get. And then on top of that, the forwards that they have, Paul George is a forward. Kawhi is the forward. Let's see, Nicholas Batum is a forward. Robert Covington is a forward. You see what I'm saying? They got a lot of forwards. And that forward position that they have is very, very steep, deep, and on both ends of the floor is very effective, because you got Kawhi and PG scoring and defense. And then you got Robert Covington, mainly more known for his defensive prowess with a little bit of scoring in between. And Nico Batum, he's still, he's a little bit older, but he still can fill up a stat sheet if you leave him out there to play long enough. So this is my point. The forward position is their heaviest position on their roster. So I can see why Clutch Sports might think that trading Robert Covington is the answer, or is an answer for maybe not their problems, but in regards to, getting somebody off the bench that, really has value and can give value to another team, rather than sitting on the bench like he's a player that just came into the league or something like that, or a player that's really not good enough to see the floor, in which we all know Robert Covington is good enough to see the floor. That's the reason why they traded for him. And in saying that, that's the reason why I say I don't think they should trade Robert Covington. Covington. You traded for him and Norman Powell. You didn't trade for just Norman Powell and left Robert Covington on the Blazers. You see what I'm saying? You traded for both of them because you knew you needed defense and offense to add to the repertoire of what Kawhi and PG can bring to also counteract what other teams can come at you with in regards to their depth, because you wanted your depth to be a lot more and you wanted to be more deeper of a team than anybody else in the NBA, which would give you the advantage in a 7-game series and give you the advantage in playing anybody that can possibly help you win a championship. So if that's the case, I don't really feel like they should trade Robert Covington, because at some point, I don't care what you say, they're going to have to find a way to utilize him more, because I mean, whether Clutch Sports, thinks that he's not a good on-ball defender or not, he's still a really good defender. I mean, he makes plays. He has great instincts on the court. He's one of those defenders that I'd say his instincts lead him to situations where it allows him to be effective. He's always been looked at as a defender. He got drafted to the league for that, more so than his offense. So almost like a Kawhi Leonard type situation, except Kawhi is way more exceptional all-around player, and then of course Robert Covington is, but still it's almost the same type of situation. Kawhi got drafted to the league for defense and minimal offense, so Covington is pretty much in the same situation. And to me, if Clutch Sports thinks he's not a great on-ball defender, as I said, he has great instincts on the court. He can cause turnovers. He can make plays, and he knows when to do certain things to allow, his defense to stand out amongst other players. I mean, because there's times where, you'll see somebody go into the basket and maybe, try to, dish off a slight pass where nobody can see it, or a no-look pass, and he puts a hand out and swipes at it, and then automatically that's a turnover. That's a steal, and that's a fast break going the other way for the Clippers. I've seen him do it, and I've seen him do it on other teams as well. Philadelphia 76ers, with the Blazers some. So, I mean, he's definitely has good instincts. He's almost like the football player that used to play for the Pittsburgh Steelers, Troy Polamalu. You all may not know who he is or remember who he is, but at the same time, Troy Polamalu, what made him a great defender on the field was he had great instincts. You didn't have to really tell him how to play defense or structure his defense a certain way. What made him a Hall of Fame player is he knew when to do certain things. His instincts led him in the right direction, and Pittsburgh won 2 championships with him because he was so dominant on the defensive end that it just made them a superior team amongst a lot of other teams around them. And I'm not saying Robert Covington is on that level, but what I'm saying is when an athlete has good instincts like that, it's hard to really overlook that, and it's hard to go unnoticed. And he's one of those type of defenders that I know that I see in the NBA that has really good instincts, because another good defender, or should I say great defender, that has great instincts on the court and allows him to utilize his thought process and calculate things quicker and process things quicker on the defensive end is his counterpart, or should I say his teammate, Kawhi Leonard. That's one thing that makes Kawhi Leonard great. Kawhi Leonard is a good on-ball defender as well, but he's also more predicated on his instincts of his defense. He knows when to, swipe at the ball. He knows when to, when they're trying to set a screen, he knows how to go over the screen or go under it and still use his length with his big hands to, rip the ball out and use his claws to go for a fast break and the two-handed dunk that he usually does when he goes on the fast break. This is the reason why I said guys that have great instincts always usually do great things. And this is the reason why I say I don't think they should let go of Robert Covington, because we just saw him the other night actually against the Blazers, where I think it was against the Blazers, where he came out and scored like 15 points, and that's the thing, he really doesn't get much minutes, but he's very valuable when you put him on the floor because he's lengthy, and like I said, he uses his instincts on defense that allows the Clippers to be a more well-rounded defensive team, because he's one of those guys. And there again, if you sub him out for like a Marcus Morris or somebody like that, honestly, if you want to trade anybody, I think they might possibly want to look into trading Marcus Morris, because the last couple of seasons, he's been one of the most complained about Clipper players in regards to coming up short in big moments, not being there in the playoffs when you need him most. And on top of that, he's got a $60 million contract, and most people believe he hasn't even lived up even close to that. So, I mean, if any player that really needs to be traded, it might need to be him, even though he he's playing a little bit better this season so far. But I mean, we got so long to go in the season. We have to really evaluate him maybe like, several months from now to see where, he is and, how he's contributing and what he's doing and how his consistency is going, or should I say his inconsistency, because that's what he's known for. Now, me personally, that's why I said I would keep Robert Covington, because to me, he is he can be maybe not a better version of Marcus Morris, because Marcus Morris can score down in the post a little bit better than Robert Covington. He actually can score a little bit better than Robert Covington, I would say. But at the same time, I don't think his defense at this point in his career is really better than Robert Covington's. And that's the one thing I think the Clippers are really more focused on. Can they get better defensively that can make them a team that a lot of people can't deal with in a 7-game series, because they could lock down defensively and score with Kawhi and PG and having all these other scorers around with Norman Powell and everybody, and it'll make their balance and make them more well-rounded as a unit, and whereas most teams won't be able to deal with that in a 7-game series. So my opinion, I would keep Robert Covington, because I know he's going to serve value in the future, and I know he's definitely going to serve value in the playoffs when Ty Lue really starts to unleash him, because I think that's more around the time when you're going to see him. You're going to see him here and there, throughout the season, of course, but of course we want to see him play more. But I think that's where Ty Lue's going to utilize him a lot more in games where he has to, switch with the rotations and he sees defensive issues with certain players. He'll plug Robert Covington in there, and it'll make up for some of the defensive issues that like maybe some players might have, like a Brandon Boston or a Jason Preston, if or Amir Coffey. Even Amir Coffey plays a little defense, but they're not as good defensively as Robert Covington is. So he might swap them out in regards to Robert Covington and give him more minutes. I mean, it's ways to do it, is basically what I'm saying. And Ty Lue has to figure it out, and I know he will. So I know one thing, I believe Robert Covington will definitely serve purpose in the playoffs, and that's really the main thing that all that matters, because really the season is really, it's far-fetched for the Clippers. It's championship or bust. So I believe Robert Covington will serve very well going forward when utilized, and I think they should keep him and definitely hold on to all the depth that they have, because it's gonna serve well in the future, and they're gonna need it going against this the Western Conference and all these other high-power offensive teams, and they're gonna need to be healthy as well. But I mean, let me know what you think about the Robert Covington thing, and we can converse from there. But hey, that's my take on everything. Leave any comments in the comment section. Check out my other videos if you haven't. Also, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell if you haven't done that as well. And hey, till next time.